Hey everybody, Jason Sherman here. In today's episode of Zero to CEO, I speak to attorney Ryan Schwartz. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
And today we're going to talk about how to build a successful law practice by putting clients first. And so anyone out there who's following the legal path and going to law school, Ryan's the person to talk to. So before we begin, I always like to ask people when they own their own business, what was the inspiration behind starting your own business?
Well, essentially, I really like to kind of control my day and control the pace of my day. And I found that I would be much more successful running my own show rather than working for other people. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, and a lot of people out there, they actually think it's pretty glamorous to own your own business, but then they find out how hard it is. So, starting your own business from the ground up, whether you already had clients or not, there's so many moving parts that they didn't realize. Like when you go to work and you get a paycheck, it's one thing, but when you have to run the entire operation, it's another. So what kind of challenges or things popped up that you realized, oh, I didn't realize it was going to be like this, and it made your life a little more difficult?
I mean, there definitely been a lot of challenges. I think the big one is kind of what you said, knowing that you're not getting a paycheck, that you're getting money's coming in a different way, and you have to pay for expenses, for office rent, for malpractice, for things to help your firm run smoothly. You have to do marketing. There's so many things that I never even thought about. It never occurred to me. And certainly those things are always on my mind. And of course, I have personal responsibilities. I have a family, I have a mortgage, I have, other things going on. So these are all things that I have to juggle.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, running your own business, I mean, you are the person in charge, and if you don't get work and clients, then you're not making money. So it's always a challenge, I think, and got to balance between the two things. So in your case, you have to get new clients. That's how you make money. If you don't get clients, you're not going to earn an income, and you're going to have to work for someone else, like you mentioned. So the best way I would assume that any business, whether you're a law firm or otherwise, to get new clients is to gain their trust. So how do you build trust with your clients, in general? Like what's your strategy?
Well, I think it's changed over the years. I think generally when I started my practice, I was a prosecutor, and I leveraged some of that experience and that knowledge to clients that were looking for help doing criminal cases. And I would share my experience and tell them I understand both sides. And then over time, as my network built up and I was able to do speaking events and speak on DUIs or traffic stops or what to do if you get stopped by police. And I did some other radio shows and TV shows, and coupled with that, and then taking people out to lunch or networking at different functions and building my name and letting people know I was out there. Over time, it snowballed, and the spider web kind of grew. And then what has happened now is so many people, I've represented so many people that spider web is out there, and I can let people know where I'm different from maybe my competitors, which is I'm not selling you an image. I'm not selling you a billboard. I'm not selling you some catchy jingle. What I'm selling you is someone who's genuine, someone who cares about your problem, and I want to help you. And I'm basically selling them me. I'm selling them my time and
Right.
who I am. And a lot of people, when they interact with a lawyer, their biggest complaint is I can't get the lawyer on the phone. I'm only talking to the
Right. The
paralegal or the assistant.
paralegal.
And
Yeah.
I'm not selling that. I'm selling that you're working with me.
Yeah, and that's common. You're right. Like when you're a busy lawyer and you do so well, it also makes you busy, right? And so then you have to dealing with the paralegals and the assistants, and that doesn't bring great customer service in a general sense, right? Like when you're
Correct.
talking to a business owner, the biggest reason people shake hands is because they're shaking hands with the business owner, and then once you get pushed off to the assistants, the customer service kind of decreases because they don't know what you know. They don't know how to treat the people the way you want to treat them, even if you try to train them. So what does great customer service mean to you?
Well, I learned what great customer service is a very long time ago because I had experiences when I was younger. I worked in a supermarket. I was a waiter. I worked in different customer service roles, and I had a whole background dealing with people. And I didn't come out of law school at 25, I was done law school when I was 33. I didn't come out, thinking money, 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 money. I learned and I've learned this having my own business. It's about customer service. It's about treating people the way you'd want to be treated if you were in their shoes. And I tell clients this, and I live by a very, I think, basic philosophy. It's the old quote by Maya Angelou: people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they won't forget how you made them feel. And I
That's a
think
good point.
it's an innate quality. People want you to care about their problems. And the biggest complaint, I mean, the number one complaint I hear from people who've dealt with attorneys, and they'll tell me, well, I wish I knew you when I had my accident,
Right.
is I couldn't get the attorney on the phone. I never talked to the attorney once. I dealt with the paralegal, and at the end of the case, she sent me a check in the mail. And I
Right.
think
No.
that's terrible because that's not
Yeah.
good customer service.
No, I agree. And you're talking about feelings and emotions here. And that's something that happens with any business owner, is the kind of emotional journey they're taking while engaging with that business. So is there a specific tactic or strategy you use to make sure clients feel like you're more than just their attorney?
Well, certainly when clients come to my office and I sign them up, especially in car accident, personal injury cases, or even when they come for criminal cases, they come to my office, they're interacting with me. I'm not having some junior associate in with me. I'm not having the paralegal. It's the client and myself. And they come to my office, and in my office, I have things that represent who I am. I'm really into music, and I'm into baseball, and I have that stuff and those things all in my walls, and people see, wow, this guy's just a regular guy. And then it
Right.
allows them to engage with me in something other than their case. And so we intertwine our conversation with their case, and then we'll talk about some personal stuff. And they see that I'm not some billboard guy. I'm not some marketing person. I'm just a regular
Those
person.
billboard guys, man, when I'm driving on the highway and I see like there's like 10 of them, right? They're all competing and they all have like either their fist up or like some gimmick holding a big pile of money or something. And it's like I hear that they do work, right? These kind of catchy guys, they work, but it's also not very personal. So why do
Right.
you think so why do you think that is? Why do you think those attorneys focus so much on like the money aspect and not so much on the relationship aspect?
Because they care, at the bottom line, all they care about is the money. And they realize if they can get, I'll stop short of mentioning any specific law firms, but think of the biggest law firms in the country or out there in your market. Those people get hundreds and hundreds of cases a month. So if a client is upset or not happy with the service they're getting, they don't care because they got a whole slew of other cases coming in. And their business model, these people have figured out how to make money and how to generate money over and over again. And they don't have to be nice. They don't have to be personable. And I think, in the long run, that doesn't work for me. Those people might make millions and millions and millions of dollars. I want to make millions and millions of dollars too.
Sure,
But
don't
what I
we all?
care, but what I care about is making sure when you're, interacting with a lawyer, me, that you are taken care of. I worked really hard to become a lawyer. I take a great pride in having a law degree, and I think that should be, honored. You should pass that on to the client.
Yeah,
You're here to help them. You're not here to treat them like a sleazy car salesman.
right.
And
Because
I think, that's really important.
that makes a lot of sense. Earlier, you mentioned the web that you created that now, reaches out. And in any business, it doesn't matter what kind of business it is, maintaining a strong network with your community is so important because that's how you build trust. It's how you build connection. It's how you relate to people. It's how you get, uh, referrals from people. Like I talked to Jason and his business. He helped me so much, So how do you do that? How do you maintain a strong network in your community, and how can others do the same?
Well, I think it starts with knowing who your community is and making sure that you're active in civic functions and things going on in your community. I got a piece of advice when I started my practice years and years ago. Another lawyer told me the best piece of advice I can give you is always give out your card to everybody. And I can't tell you how many times I've given out my card to someone, I don't get a call. But then 6 months go by, a year, someone
So
says,
annoying.
I got your card, I got your name from someone I know. And then I'm helping them on a case. And then that person's telling two other people about me.
Right.
And so it's always important. I'm always engaging with clerks and courtroom staff. And when I see people in the courtroom, I'm always smiling and I'm friendly and I try to wave to people. I want people to think and to know that I'm approachable. That might not, 90% of the time, that might not turn into anything. I mean, I got a call last night at 10 o'clock from someone who said, you represented my daughter 8 years ago on some traffic tickets. Well, I was just hit
Wow.
in a car accident on the highway. And now, as of this morning, they're my client. It's
That's crazy.
making sure people know. I know there's other things that people do. They'll send out yearly birthday cards or
Yeah.
holiday cards or
Calendars and things like that.
things like
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
I don't do that as much. But I definitely, check. There's certain clients I know to check in with every so often to make sure they're okay and just let them know I'm still out there.
Yeah, and it's funny. I've a couple of friends who are lawyers, and they started their own practices recently. And one of the things they did was they literally gave me a stack of business cards because they know that I know a lot of people, right? And they might not do that with everybody, but they said, hey, I know you know a lot of people, and everyone on Facebook, for example, always says, hey, I was just in an accident. Do you have someone I can talk to about this? So instead of doing that, I kind of was proactive about it and just started giving. Every time I saw someone, I just said, hey, here's a card. If you ever need someone that does it, he's my friend. He's really good at it, etc. So I think like being proactive is also really important, right? And
Absolutely.
is that what and being go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say I give out my cards to everybody. I have promo gifts I give to clients, like Stanley mugs with my logo on
Nice.
it, bottle openers, credit.
You got merch. You got merch. People like merch, right?
I have merch, and certainly I'd like to think one of my strengths is being very engaging with people. So no matter who it is, whether it's the electrician that comes to my house or my yard person or someone down the street who I'm talking to at my kids' dance recital, I let everyone know, hey, here's what I do. And you just never know where someone is going to pop up and think of you. I've represented numerous people who work at car dealerships and in the motorcycle community. My card is floating around those groups all the time. I'm mentioned in different Facebook and Instagram groups and things like that. My wife will promote me in different moms groups and Facebook groups that she's part of. And so my name gets passed around there, and so it just builds and builds over the years.
And so you mentioned a lot of strengths, a lot of things you do right, a lot of things that have helped you grow your business. But there's people out there who they're just starting out. They're not at the top of their game like you are. So let's talk about some of the weaknesses or mistakes that people might make when they start their business, what the challenges are that maybe you faced or maybe you see other people face, and how to get around them.
Well, I think a lot of people believe, I'm going to become a lawyer. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to make all this money. And I think there's an innate quality you need to have. You need to be an engaging person. You can't just snap your fingers and you're a lawyer. You could be a brilliant legal mind. I would rather take someone who's engaging and knows how to communicate and connect with doctors and providers and clients and things like that over someone who is extremely book smart, because that you can look up. You can't teach someone to be an engaging person. And I think some of the mistakes I made when I started was, you have all these different marketing companies and advertising gimmicks that reach out and they're like, I can promise you this, I can guarantee that. And every lawyer falls into these traps, and then you realize they're all BS. And after a while, some of them don't work, because you can market that, but you can't sell someone if they don't know how to present themselves and be engaging. And so I think falling into those traps, those advertising traps and those gimmicks and, doing all those things, that's a mistake that I definitely made over the years early on. I don't make those mistakes anymore, obviously.
Right.
Those are traps I tell.
Like you said, you're at the top of your game now. So, I mean, you've really kind of shown everyone here that you know what you're doing and you know how to build a business. And if people do want to work with you and engage with you, what's the best way they can do that?
Well, certainly I have a website, schwartztriallaw.com. I have an Instagram business Instagram account, a business Facebook group, and I have videos on there and things like that. But certainly the best way to always reach out to me and connect with me is through my website or through my email or through my business phone number.
Perfect. Guys, if you need his help and you want to talk to someone who's really good at what they do and they care about you, not just money, right? We're talking about your emotions, your feelings, your life. Reach out to schwartztriallaw.com and hope you guys enjoyed the episode. We'll see you guys in the next one.